Good morning, good afternoon, good evening in the past, present, future, wherever and whenever you are. Welcome to another edition of the Living World of Darkness Changeling 20th venue. Our scene is opening up in Charles's apartment in the evening. He has just gotten home and has brought in a wonderful box of gift isn't the right word because it wasn't a gift if there was a contractual agreement that went into it. But what came out of it was far more than expected. And Charles is in a very good mood, and he is actually singing right now as he's got music blaring right now in the thing. And he's actually expecting someone as he's coming along. But for right now, he's working along. He's at least picking out some kind of drinks of some kind. But as he's singing, as the music's going along, and it's believe it or not, it's the karaoke version of the song. But as he's going along, he's singing, and it's looking at the rolls here. I only got one success on here. At least he's singing on key, even without the words going along. He's going. And the player's gonna play, 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 and the hater's gonna hate, 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 hate. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake it off, ooh, ooh. As he's just continuing on, preparing himself and preparing the area for his guest.
Who is precisely on time. Mm-hmm. He hears the buzzer go.
With that, he turns off the music in his moment of it's one of his few moments where he's free, knows he's not alone, and at least can practice on his own before he turns it off. And it's over to the buzzer. Gwen, good to see you. Come on up.
Good evening. And he hears the door click as she moves out of sight. Mm-hmm. And she is shortly at his actual door with a polite little knock.
And with just as soon as the knock opens, the door opens, and once again, that diamond smile. The perfect host. Welcome. Please come in. Can I get your bag or your coat? Anything?
Thank you kindly. Mm-hmm. She hands him a tray. The sort of, what do you call it, cellophane wrapped plate that people bring goodies on.
And what is this that we have here this evening?
I brought you brownies.
Brownies? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure they're going to be
different kinds of chips in them. Chocolate chips, hazelnut, a variety.
I'm looking forward to this then. Let's see. What goes back? I have several different reds. Are you looking for a Pinot Noir, a Sauvignon Cabernet?
Please surprise me.
He goes in and he's like, I think a Pinot Noir would be good for this evening. This particular one has more of a garnet sort of coloration to it as he's pouring it out. But I think you'll find that they taste to be quite smooth and fluid, and I think perhaps with the hazelnut will go quite well.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Well, you're quite welcome. After all, it's not often many people decide to just drop by for a visit.
You know I enjoy your company and your exquisite hospitality.
I'm sure you enjoyed the hospitality. I wasn't quite sure if you actually enjoyed my company.
She raises a brow and kind of studies him for a second. Try to figure out how sassy he is being. I'm going to roll that 1 second. Said we're in dice roller 1.
Yep. Oh, Kitty. I know. I know.
4 successes.
4 successes. Anyway. So, he's being a little snarky. just a little bit. But underneath that, there is a little bit of like he's genuinely not sure if she actually enjoys his company.
I do. You are clever and good with words. It's a pleasure.
Well, I at least try to make my home hospitable and make my guests feel at least to a degree comfortable.
And also, you have not yet threatened to pull my wings off or, well, anything
He
else.
actually looks very shocked at the like absolutely like deeply hurt and wounded at the idea of like threatening like trying to pulling her wings off. Like, pull your wings off. God.
I apologize.
Do you think I'm some sort of child that would pull the wings off butterflies? Oh.
Well, you wouldn't be the first to suggest it if you were.
That sounded a little personal.
Hmm.
Someone suggesting such things? Some naughty child?
Indeed. I'm sure they'll be fine.
But what about you? Will you be fine?
Well, we'll see. They have to catch me first.
That's the spirit. But he does take a moment when he's looking at her like, is she really going to be all right? I might have to actually peony that one. as bad as my role is, but I've only got 3 dice on my peony. That's why I'm better at psychology. Don't forget the hashtags, otherwise you're gonna about it. Excuse me. Well, 3 successes.
Pretty good use of your 3 dice there.
Yeah, apparently pretty damn decent.
With 3 successes, he sees that she is not lying. She is serious about it, but she looks annoyed, and if she's worried, she is keeping it to herself. He can probably get the sense that she's pretty sure she would survive it and live to make whoever did it regret it.
Well, at least I know you have some fight in you.
Did you think otherwise?
I honestly wasn't sure.
Interesting.
But I'm sure that, as with most visits, this isn't just a friendly chat or a conversation. I'm sure there's something that's brought you to my room, or to my abode.
I guess so. Though, honestly, it's mostly just a friendly chat. The trial is over with better success than I feared, and I was interested to hear what you think about it.
Well, to be honest, I don't know all that much. I've heard at least certain things. I heard that the certain sentence was rendered.
Yes.
I heard there were at least some degree of contention, but I'm afraid I'm hazy on the details. I unfortunately was not able to attend Grey World Matters and all.
I see. Is that what kept you away?
Was a particularly what's the right word? Difficult. Not a negotiation. Difficult.
Interrogation?
No, it wasn't an interrogation either. An interrogation would imply that I was being harsh with the individual. No.
I see.
No, it was more of a difficult coaxing. That's what it was. Difficult coaxing period to try and get an idea. See, it was a. He pauses for a moment. He sort of gauges her for a moment before he goes. It was a young male abuse victim.
That sounds very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Very. Especially when, and not to say anything against anyone who suffers from that kind of trauma or anything along those lines, but especially with a male abuse victim, it's a lot more difficult to be able to get them to open up because there's that degree of machoism. And I don't think that's the right term for it, but machismo, yes, machismo. That has to be an expectation that they should be tough and be able to weather these things and stuff like that. And they showing weakness is it's common in any of those cases, but it's more difficult to crack in those cases because of that inherent idea that the man should that one's masculinity is threatened if they admit to the fact that they are belittled.
Yes. Are you all right?
Well, I'm totally fine.
Like water off a duck's back?
Water off a duck's back. That's a fun term. I like that. I like that a lot.
Is it true, though? Are you simply that well armored? Or have you found some way to make peace with what's happened?
I'm not sure what you mean. Are you saying that I make peace with the trauma the young man himself suffered, or what I have to hear every day, or?
Yes, I mean, surely having to sit there and watch those struggles take some toll on you. Or perhaps not.
I don't think it really takes a toll on me. Especially in its degree, it's fascinating.
Do you find that Charles struggles with it? There's a certain amount of instinctual fellow feeling that humans seem to suffer. All of us.
Oh no. I haven't really felt Charles in those situations. Although, if you mention it, there was one time. That was interesting.
What happened?
There's your idea of the thoughts that Charles and I have at least some sort of bond. I'll admit there's certain biological instincts that happen from time to time.
Exactly.
But not anything too severe, and even on those, but purely on a more emotional level and even mental level, nothing really in depth seems to happen. I'm the one here. Charles is gone for the most part.
You don't find your heart beginning to race, your breathing becoming shallower.
Not particularly.
Interesting.
But there was one time that I'm not sure if it was my own thoughts or Charles that was in my head. And it was a moment where something just seemed off.
How so?
Well, I was having dinner with someone I'd like to call a friend. You can peony that if you want.
Okay. 2 successes.
2 successes. When he says friend, that is not a word especially in this context, he's not using that word as like someone he would actually consider to be a friend. There's a subtlety to that in which it's like someone who I have an understanding with.
Okay.
And and with the 2 successes, there's also an edge to that. Like there's a very like think piano wire sort of being pulled to like full tautness. There is an edge and there's just a tightness to that word. Something about that individual is irked isn't the right word, but definitely there's a taste of something
sure.
bitter.
She has 3 successes to hide her reaction to his reaction.
I'm sorry, it's just like the games we weave. You said you got 3 successes. I'm probably not going to make a bell peony.
Jesus.
3 successes, but I don't have a specialty, so I can't get that. But defender wins, so you're fine.
She glances away.
And let's just say that before we had dinner together, there was this inkling. I already knew I was going into a dangerous situation, but prickling like an afterthought in the back of my head. I honestly don't know if it was my own thoughts or Charles.
A dangerous situation. Your dinner was a dangerous situation.
Oh, of course it was a dangerous situation. It was a...
Of course.
But,
Please, you didn't finish your sentence.
I didn't, did I?
No.
No.
It was a what?
Where was I? Oh, yes. But yeah, there was... But the dinner went fine enough as it did. Although I think my friend may have thought he played me for a fool. Although I'm very much looking forward to the next time we have dinner. It's going to be French this time.
Huh. Why French?
Well, he's never had French cuisine.
Is this someone I know?
Have you seen any fire gods walking around?
No. How intriguing. It was a dangerous situation.
Well, we'll see how much of a god he actually is. I'm learning quite a bit, actually. I'm hoping, given our agreement last time, and he says something in Cantonese, but I don't expect Gwen to know exactly what he said.
She just blinks.
Yeah. I don't think he'll be expecting me to be as prepared as I am.
Interesting.
Our friendship's going to be a very interesting one.
Good luck.
Oh, thank
that does sound interesting. I hope you'll tell me more as it unfolds. It sounds like a fascinating story.
It's going to be a fascinating story. We'll see how it goes. If anything, I'm learning of an entire world I never knew.
What world is that?
A world of earthly heavens and hells, and yet still connected to beings such as ourselves. Excuse me.
Very interesting. Do you paint?
Oh no.
That's a
Why do you
shame.
ask?
It should be interesting to see these worlds rendered.
Perhaps one day I'll sing it in a song or spell it or say it in a sonnet. Perhaps even I'll immortalize it in a novel. We'll see.
I hope so. That would be delightful. I would enjoy that very much.
What about you? Are you a painter?
No. No.
A baker, then?
Sometimes. I can follow a recipe.
So what do you find as far as an outlet? I mean, we've talked about elbow grease before.
I like magic tricks.
Magic tricks.
She's going to take her glass and reach across the table to pick up a napkin and roll a little bit of I believe it's a -2 diff.
Well, since it's your special, well, it's a secondary skill, so.
Yes.
Yes.
6 of 1. 4 of 1. Sleight of hand. And she flubs it, but she does it with not with any panache at all, but with a certain cheerful doggedness.
Mm.
Doggedness.
Mm.
Like she grins at him and then like produces a coin from seemingly the glass, but it's fairly obvious where the coin. Actually, I guess you should probably roll.
Yep. Let's see if he. Let's see if he's perceptive enough. Perception awareness. I say.
Alertness.
Well, either way, it's only one. He is not the most perceptive individual. Yeah, focusing on a lot of things. He's a very distracted individual. Awareness, you said. Let me check my sheet just to make sure. Who the heck keeps messaging me? I'm not interested in what you have to say. I'm sorry.
I'll care later.
I'll care later. I don't need your sass right now.
You've been entered into the queue.
The queue. 2 successes.
Oh, yeah. He sees
so,
it.
Yeah. So yeah, he's sort of like.
And she just starts to laugh at his expression.
Yeah, he's trying to remain polite, like he wasn't aware, but it's very clear he was like, okay.
She laughs and actually tosses in the coin. Just kind of flicks it delicately down the table.
I don't pick it up.
Not because I'm good at it, just because I enjoy it.
I'm sure it would be entertaining to some.
Perhaps. It's mostly a good way to, well, it's fun.
Fun.
Charles, have you no fun? Certainly you have fun. You must have some sort.
I'm sure I have some sort of fun. I'm just not sure it's the same as most others.
Of course not. Everyone has different fun. But I hope there's something on this green earth that still gives you pleasure. How's it going with Amber?
Oh, we've We actually haven't talked since my invitation to our night out on the town.
Oh.
Oh, I don't take that uh, as an insult or anything like that. I hope she doesn't either. But something I've been waiting for has actually come in. I'm very excited.
Oh?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
I don't want to spoil the surprise.
It's not a surprise for me.
Well, I'm not sure. All right. Give me just a few minutes.
Yes.
As he goes. And it does take a few minutes because he's getting changed.
Mm-hmm.
And to explain what the gift is, Tria's appearance is 2 higher.
Wow. Holy crap.
And well, because this is your first time seeing him in the suit.
Mhm.
And if you were a Toreador vampire, you'd be totally like
Rolling.
you'd be rolling so hard. So what he steps out in is a suit, and it's a gorgeous suit. It's like made of, well, definitely it's, if you had seen anything of like one of Sansare's specialties, you'd know it was her
Mhm.
spider silk.
Okay.
But what's more is just the fact that it's more enhanced on the glamorous level. The fact is, it's basically like living dross itself
Mm-hmm.
is infused into these clothes. And while it's black, there is this almost like, in certain ways that catches the light. It almost seems like there's certain degrees of like deep red that almost seems to shimmer across its surface.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like blood under the moonlight, and yet at certain moments you seem to catch the glistening under the red beneath the black. And it's just this idea of just the mystery and the feeling and the encapsulation of romance and passion and just entrancing.
Mm-hmm. So she's sitting there with her glass of wine when he comes back out, and she stands up entirely involuntarily. Like it's not conscious at all. Like she's sitting there, and all of a sudden she finds herself on her feet without a single word in her head, just staring.
It just sort of smiles, that dazzling smile, and it just seems to enhance the entire effect even more so.
Oh, you look magnificent.
Thank you. Sansere said it was a happy accident.
Oh no. You look magnificent.
Thank you. Magnificent twice over. I'll remember that.
I'm sorry. Well, if I was better with words. But I'm not.
Well, as you see. But perhaps, while you may not... Now, I ask you not to spoil the surprise for Amber or anyone else.
Oh no, I won't say a thing.
But I do want you to say, but I know you can't, it's hard to help yourself on not saying as at least something for the benefit of Sansere, then.
What do you mean?
At least say something about the magnificence of her work.
Yeah, I can tell her I've seen it.
You can tell her you've seen it. Tell others that you've seen the power of her, the passion of her work and the majesty of it. You don't necessarily have to say it's mine or what I wear or anything like that, or to the depths of the degrees, but at least make sure that the credit is given due.
Yes, all right.
Well, I think I'm going
That's
to put this
truly
away.
a marvel.
It certainly is. When I first saw it, I couldn't quite believe what I was seeing. Went above, excuse me, went definitely above and beyond what we had agreed upon.
Oh. Yes, I... Huh. Can't imagine that... That must have been some agreement.
Certainly was. $2,000.
It's... worth twice that.
Twice that.
Charles, truly you look... I'm not usually tongue-tied. When he grins like that again, she actually, like, takes a step back. Not... Like, it's not like she's fleeing from him. It's almost like she's kind of overcome.
Yep.
Because at App 7, like, at App 5, you hit the point where, like, people start, like, forgetting themselves in your presence. At App 7 is the point where you're just like...
Well, he's App 6 right now, so just
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Still, that's still.
Yeah, yeah, she wasn't prepared for that at all, and she's,
Yep. So, yeah, but yeah, he smiles again, and he was like, yes. But, as I said, I think I'm going to... You'll have to forgive me, I'm going to put this away now. As I said, I wish to at least maintain it for just a little bit longer before I take it out into public.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, he goes off again, and he...
Oh, I hope you'll... She says, as he disappears through the door, he hears her say behind him, I hope you'll find a suitable occasion.
I'm certain I'll find several, as he says, as he's undressing himself. This is far too precious a thing to be used for only one occasion.
Yes, of course. Of course. But I hope its debut is, Oh, Charles, that would go very nicely.
I'm glad you think so. And he finally comes back out, and he's dusting himself off, and at least he's now down to more manageable levels.
Sure. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be some night to remember.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting. I don't know that I've ever watched a she court before. Not that kind of court. I've never watched a she court another she before.
Well, Amber isn't another sheet, so technically you're not seeing that happen.
No, you're right. You're right. She looks kind of like taken aback because she really forgot that he's actually courting a commoner.
Yeah.
And like the thought that there's like another level past this is kind of like, dear God. Except she'd never say that because flaws.
Flaws. Anyway. This cat is having way too much fun. Sorry. Back to anyway.
But speaking of court.
Yes, speaking of court. How did the court go?
It was a very large room with quite a lot of people in it. It was difficult beforehand to listen to the way that people speak about red caps, knowing that a friend was, that her life hung in the balance. She's lawyer told her to plead guilty, which...
Well, that's what she wanted, so...
Yes. I bear him no ill will. I think he handled himself quite well. Very well, in fact. I think that he did a fine job of questioning and presenting his case so that it was clear that it was a mistake and she was no cold-blooded killer out to murder again and again. It was a crime of not even passion, but the act of a passionate soul.
Do you think he would have done better than me?
Oh, what an interesting question.
Please do be honest.
I've never seen you argue legally. I would be fascinated too. What tactic would you take?
Well, that would have depended very much on the situation.
Of course.
I wasn't there on the court. I wasn't there on the court, and unfortunately, before I got a chance to perhaps dive my fingers into it a little bit too much, I was chosen above another.
She's gonna peony that.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna actually manip sub that, actually.
Okay.
I just realized. I was just like, no, this is one of the few times I'm gonna manip sub. Like, he's gonna play that off like, oh, yeah, no. I don't think the subversive specialty would apply here, but... Sorry. Remembering what all my stats are. Most of them are not as high as I thought they would be, but it's threading a needle. It's threading a needle in order to get whatever you need.
Yes. Yeah. I'll be right back. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Right. No worries. Well, that depends for the audience viewing at home. To let you know oh, never mind.
I
She's
mean,
back.
6d10 is a lot of dice, sir, and you rolled that very well.
Yeah, I did
So,
indeed.
what is he trying to, with 2 extra successes over hers,
Yeah.
possibly more? What is he
Well,
trying to?
two successes over her. It's I don't see subversive being applicable here. Otherwise,
Okay.
That's more like trying to motivate people to think certain other avenues or implant certain thoughts. So that's not what I would think with subversive in this. Well, I mean, it could work, but I mean, he's trying to make her think something else. Uh, I'll leave that up to you whether you think subversive might apply here.
No.
No, okay. So yeah, only 2 successes above her, but basically, I'm trying to remember exactly what I was rolling because she was trying to see if like the based up doesn't seem to bear any ill will. Just she made a choice
Got
that
it.
obviously was the better choice.
Okay. Huh. I'm trying to remember what house he was. House Ilil?
Ilunid.
The lawyers Ilunid?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She sits back and she kind of pushes her fingers against her mouth. Do I think that he would have done a better job than you? To be quite frank, the politics, above and beyond the personal worth of the lawyer, were, particularly at the end, fierce. He was Seelie. I learned the judge was also Seelie. I think that would have played a role. His questions were, I think it's fair to say that his questions were uninspired, which is something I don't think I would ever say of you. His arguments were they were clever, but careful,
Safe.
safe. I was well, part of me appreciates safety.
But is that better?
It's so hard to know. It depends on what form it takes, I suppose. I think Shea suffered a great deal, but she returned to me safely. I appreciate that. And I hope that the outcome will give others a chance to heal as well. The safe outcome. I think you would have not necessarily been as safe. I think it would have been something certainly to watch. And I have a hard time ever saying that the more beautiful option is not perhaps worth the risk. But I couldn't say so for my own friend's life. If it were my life, I think I might be more willing, but for the life of someone else.
Well, I appreciate the way you're willing to draw the lines of who might have been better suited for that situation. But you didn't answer my question of who you thought was better, who would have done better. Safety does not always mean that they are the better one.
I don't honestly know what outcome I would have hoped for. It's hard to say which is better.
What was Shea's punishment?
They killed her. She was stabbed to death in the courtroom. And left to return to herself over time. A chimerical death. Not permanent, but no less painful. And, well, I suppose that has never happened to you.
No. What led to that decision?
Several of us acted as character witnesses to, well, as I've already said, to say that she's no killer, no threat to other changelings, and that she didn't violate the right to life willingly or you know. And to say that she truly regretted her mistake. And there were a few others who stepped up to say that surely no redcap could be so foolish as to do so unwillingly. But I think that the lawyer's questions made it clear that those speakers were not terribly clever themselves in their calls for cruelty. That it was not truly justice they sought, but vicious vengeance. An example to be made.
And yet death was still chimerical or otherwise, temporary or otherwise, was still the verdict.
Yes. The Baron stepped up. Well, he sent someone to speak in his stead to ask leniency.
I was going to say, I'd be very surprised if the Baron himself stepped up to say something on this behalf.
But he did. After the sentence was passed, he strode onto the floor to yell at the judge.
What did he have to say?
He said he did not. Well, he asked whether the judge thought this sentence at all exemplified leniency as he'd requested.
Interesting.
I
There's
will,
actually a sort of smile on his face. Very interesting. What a way to play the martyr, my dear friend.
the Baron, you mean?
Yes.
Do you think that was his intention?
Everything's a political maneuver. Worry too. He had the opportunity to speak before the sentence was passed, yes?
Indeed, he sent a spokesman to ask for leniency of a Gwydion. The Gwydion asked him if that was truly his wish, and he nodded. But You could have cut the silence in the room with a knife.
But he did not speak himself until after her death.
No.
Hmm.
No, before her death, but after the judgment was passed.
Very well timed. I'm sorry if you're seeking for me to have sympathy for our dear Baron, you're gonna find it very missing.
No, I quite agree with you. Sympathy. Sympathy for the Baron. What sympathy would you have for him? What sympathy could anyone have for him? He did not suffer. I made some very pointed remarks in his direction, and...
Oh, you did you?
Quietly. They were lost in the noise.
What you're going to have to learn is how to make sure your words, as soft as they may be, will ring out like a bell.
I did not wish to make an enemy of a Baron. Sometimes... Never mind.
No, continue with what you were going to say.
I'm not a bell. I don't speak well in front of people.
Then what are you? If not a bell. What do you see yourself as?
I'm a boggin. I make brownies and do people's taxes.
Oh, you're more than that. You just don't give yourself enough credit for it.
I am if I have to be.
See, that's exactly it. If you have to be, as though there was an ultimatum to a point that you only go as far as you need to go, and if something happens, something matters.
You sound like William.
That doesn't sound like a compliment.
It's not an insult.
But it's not flattering either.
I admire William. Quite a lot, actually. He frightens me. But I admire him.
Do you admire him because he frightens you, or do you admire him despite that?
Despite.
And why is that?
I have loved men who frightened me before. I don't wish to do it again. It doesn't appeal.
The one who was before you woke up to what you were, he frightened you.
Yes. But the bloom is off that rose. It's a child's mistake, and I'm not a child.
Of course not. I wouldn't suggest that you are. I never would.
No. No, I don't think you would, and that is why I enjoy your company. She's going to nips up that.
I'll peony that. Da, 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 da. I have my peony. There we go. So many rolls. 2 successes. No, 3 successes. So 2 successes above you.
Okay. Yep. I have 1. She looks away again when she says that, and you get the sense that she is masking some deep, deep bitterness. Not directed at you, but definitely something fairly intense.
Well, definitely about the subject matter. That's at least what he's thinking. But yet those thorns dig deep still, don't they?
Which thorns?
You looked away just then. It wasn't because you were embarrassed of my compliments or anything along those lines. It was because you were hiding pain, bitterness.
It's been a trying few days.
No, if it had been about the past few days, you would have had our conversation would have been laced with it. No, it's just the subject we were just touching on.
Yes, it was, but not the subject you think.
Then enlighten me.
No, I think this one I will keep to myself.
Oh, such a shame.
I'm terribly sorry.
Well, perhaps one day you'll tell me.
Hopefully it will never be important. And you need never know.
Well, maybe it
Sticks and
won't be.
stones may break my bones, but words don't have to cut so deeply. Not from everyone. She's gonna be any of that look. Oh, not sorry. Oh, goodness. I love him.
Yeah.
3 successes.
Okay. He's actually very impressed that you managed to turn at least a bit of his words again, but even then, he's kind of like, hey, still so far to go. He said, because especially with his next statement is like, but you admit they still will cut.
Oh,
Well, they
yes.
still do.
Of course.
Well,
I don't think you're a fool either, Charles.
oh, you don't? Well, that's good, because I never thought of myself to be one.
If I've given you that impression, I apologize.
Oh, no, you never had.
Good.
But why do you say that all the same?
You made sure I admitted that words can cut. As though you thought perhaps I didn't believe you when you said it before. I did. Very much.
Because you felt them when they did cut deep.
Yes.
Past the bone and flesh and sinew and right down to spirit and mind.
Yes.
And yet they can be beautiful and enduring at the same time, can't they?
Yes.
And given in the right time, in the right moment, in the right circumstances, they can last forever. You see them on monuments. You see them in books. You hear people state them. Even if they're not necessarily the most pleasant things, like throwing oneself off the cliffs like lemmings. That endured. That endures and has its own poetry about it.
I suppose. And a surgeon's scalpel is very, very sharp. They endure and they wound, but I think also they can heal.
Indeed they can. Because the right words can save a man from death. Just the right amount of encouragement. Even if it's his own mad mutterings under his breath, to give him the encouragement just one more day. One more
Yes.
day. And the right words can actually save a man who, despite his machismo, despite the idea of what his toxic masculinity would put him in that moment in which he's broken down, you can begin the healing process. That moment you break that toxic shell and reveal what's really underneath. And from there you build them up again. The right words can do that. And sometimes you need to shatter. Sometimes you need to break. Because in that moment, when everything seems to be falling around you, when the right words come, when the right hand helps you out, you build yourself anew.
Yes.
Did Ruth break when you came through, Gwen?
No.
Why not?
Because I was always Gwen.
Yet you recognized your situation and you rose above it.
Yes. Yes, I did.
I see. So it was because of Gwen that Ruth survived and spread her wings for the first time.
I would have survived. I would have survived. There's a difference between surviving and flourishing. And yes, I spread my wings. And now I flourish. I don't know that I would have done that, but I would have survived. But this is infinitely better.
Most definitely.
I never would have seen a man step out of a bedroom in a suit that took more than my breath away. Not just the dull, meaty ache of pleasure at seeing a beautiful thing, but something that hurt with its fineness. It's, what's the word I want? Not precision, not delicacy. Keenness?
It's like a rainbow. Rainbow of a most perfect day. And yet at the same time, as much as you can't help but stare at it, you feel it cutting and watering at your eyes like pins and needles. It's not extravagance, because extravagance would lead to a degree of gaudiness.
Yes.
And yet it's not refined, because refined would lead to a degree of softness. No, it's like a rose. Because as beautiful and as subtle as the rose is, and its petals, you never forget the moment you prick your finger on its thorns that it's still sharp.
The suit was certainly made for you. It's not just a work of art, it is your work of art. I'm glad I get to see such things. It's a tragedy that most people never get to. Most people never get to feel that. Sometimes I wonder if the dull, cruel, stupid people, how much it would take to pull them out of being dull, cruel, and stupid.
It doesn't say anything to that. Actually, sort of like almost staring off into the distance. Whether he's thinking about what she's saying here or on something else, it's hard to say, but he seems to be lost in a thought.
She's actually going to slip to her feet and say quietly, like, you know when you're thinking hard and someone talks and you just kind of tune it out?
Yeah.
She's going to pitch her voice to like that exact tone, that exact, like, the tone that you just tune out, and ask him whether he wants another glass of wine, and she's going to go to the kitchen with their glasses and leave him to his thoughts for a minute.
And he is thinking upon actually what she has said about what it would take to make the dull, stupid people think and see, and he sees and he's reliving memories. There was Cameron, who he could still smell his wife beater, the sweat underneath it.
Is he saying this out loud?
No, this
Okay.
is thoughts in his head, memories. You can still smell him, still see the stain of beer and stuff. It's just such a so typical, like textbook. One of these kind of guys who would just come home after a long day and drink one of the King's Brew, cheap, worst kind of things. He remembers exactly what he did to break that man and break him hard. broke him to the point that the next day the family found him strung up with his own belt, same one he used on his children quite often. He remembered Jessica and how she would belittle her girlfriend, how she'd make him feel, how she'd make her feel weak and frail. You remember how he found the right words, the right phrases, the right keys to make her crack. She was found in the bathtub 3 days later. Those stupid, weak people who thought they knew, who thought they understood. And in some respects, as he's thinking back on them, on those weak, stupid people that he broke and ravaged, he has smiling, pure smile as he showed them who really was the one in charge, who really was the one who was the master. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words bite ever so deeply, he mutters to himself as Ruth comes back, and she sees him, he's smiling. It's a very pleasant smile. There's no need for that, like he's very, like a very satisfied, joyful thought.
When he comes back, too, she's actually standing in the doorway, holding their wine glasses and watching him. She has 2 successes on that smile.
It is a very good memory. A very, very good memory.
Okay. She's just kind of cocks her head sideways, inviting him to share. And then she starts forward, holding out his wine glass.
Oh, sorry. And he takes the wine glass. I was just lost in thought about what you were saying about what it would take to make the broken people see. Those, not broken people, sorry. The dull, stupid people see. It'd take quite a bit. You'd have to break down their perceptions and make them really see. Not an easy thing to do. After all, they're caught up in their own preconceptions.
I don't know. Breaking them down, I don't know.
Sometimes in order to bring about change, you have to break down what they know, what they understand, or what they think. They're trapped in a world shell. Sometimes you have to give the right amount of knocking so that they see the light.
Yes, of course. But sometimes they're just a few inches from the surface of the soil. And you just have to give them the water that they need to make it that last little bit. That's the difference between autumn and spring, I suppose. In the autumn you reap. In the spring you sow.
Very well put.
I have spring in the mind. I'm studying it. Trying to learn to heal.
Seems like yesterday that I knew spring, and yet seems like so very long ago at the same time.
Is it something you use much?
I used to use many things. I understood the words to build worlds and the worlds to tear them down. I knew how to build, how to save. I knew how to reap, how to obliterate. The right phrase could create a forest of music, starlight.
Oh,
And the right remark could make a world of flame and molten. Molten. There isn't even a word for it here of what that was, that emotion. Because there is no word for that emotion here.
I don't suppose you like a challenge. I don't suppose it helps to know that however far you've come, you are a far, far rarer creature now than you ever were. Diamonds here are not commonplace. They're precious, priceless, worth lives. Literally worth lives. Even if you haven't the power that you had before, I don't know if it helps, but now you're a priceless treasure.
Thank you, Gwen.
It's true. And it's important. Every one of us is a gift to the others, even if we disagree, even if we don't get along. And anyway, I'm interested to see what comes of the trial. It didn't occur to me that the Baron might be making a play for sympathy.
It will be interesting. So did they avoid the fight clubs like the plan was?
No, actually.
Hmm.
No, the Shay's lawyer brought them up. Shay's lawyer asked several witnesses why we thought that They hadn't raised the barrier to protect lives. I was startled. It seemed to go to the Baron. It seemed to go to the Baron. Obviously, obviously, he did not goad the Baron. He used us to do so. It was politically well done of him. Nothing he said could have been taken as offense. He put it squarely on our shoulders.
I see. Very interesting.
Cat butt.
Cat butt. So now I get 50,000 more views of the cat alone. We already have one viewer. Hello, viewer. Anyway. One cat butt for your viewer. Oh no. Anyway. Sorry, I'm starting to get to the point. I'm trying to widen down on the characters.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But well, I'm sure we'll see what the results of that trial may be. Oh.
Yes.
Before we wrap up this evening, we should actually have one of your brownies.
Maybe you should save them for not before bed.
Well, you're not one of those ones who put coffee in them, are you?
No, but chocolate has caffeine.
Hmm.
And all that sugar. I guess it depends on how you time it. You could crash peacefully afterwards into blissful slumber.
True. Well, I would be remiss not to at least partake of it before you go.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. So I'll at least take a square before chowing down on it. Well, it is getting late, and I don't wish to be rude, but I'm afraid I may have. Well, you never know with how work might be. I might have to be awake and ready to go in the next 3 hours.
Oh, no. Oh, Charles, I'm sorry. I will take my leave and this brownie. You've given me a great deal to think about. Thank you.
And thank you, Gwen, for the conversation.
It was a pleasure as always.
As always. Good night, Gwen.
Good night. And she shows herself out, closing the door carefully and quietly behind her.
And unfortunately, she's not too wrong about the fact that the caffeine is getting him a little energized. To make another. He waits a few minutes to make sure she's gone before he puts on the music again. This time feeling a lot more inspired with 4 successes as he starts singing. I stay up too late. Go on way too many dates. At least that's what people say. That's what people say. With that, I think as Charles, in a very good mood, decides to shake things off, we will end this scene. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to whoever and wherever you are, whenever you are. This has been another scene for the Living World of Darkness Changeling venue.